What will hit us? We're gonna get a drastic event within the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
A drastic event that on one side will hit us very badly economically, or on the other side will hit our fears very much, or sadly, on the worst side, may kill quite a few million people.
So Mo Gawdat is back. We covered his last appearance on Peter Diamandis' podcast, where he finally said the quiet part out loud. AI is going to trigger massive job disruption. He predicts a 10 to 40% unemployment rate across multiple sectors. But in today's episode, he's joined by best-selling author and human performance expert Steven Kotler, who basically takes the opposite view. He kicks things off by claiming AI is way overhyped, and that honestly, we don't really need to even worry about it. So, as you can imagine, Mo wasn't having it. He lays out in detail why AI will surpass human intelligence, why it will take control, why we should be seriously worried, and why something catastrophic will likely happen in the next few years. Now, to be fair, Kotler pushes back with some decent points, but it's clear from the jump that he doesn't quite grasp how serious this really is. I mean, here's how he opens.
So, Steven, do you want to jump in with your points of view? You think AI is massively overhyped? We have folks like Eric Schmidt saying AI is massively underhyped.
Underhyped, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's massively overhyped. I listen to what's going on, and so let me back up one step, which is humans have a really wild, sort of unnamed cognitive bias. We don't tend to trust our own history. And you see this a lot, like people talk about like grit and endurance, and they're like, I don't have those skills. And then you start investigating them up their life, and like they survived the shitty childhood. They've done 10 years of a tough marriage. Like they have all the skills. They just don't trust the truth of their own experience. And I see that a lot here. I work with AI as a scientist, as a researcher. I work with AI as a creative and as a writer, and I all day long. And the gap between the shit coming out of people's mouth and my experience on the ground is so colossal, it's insane. People have claims about AI being able to write or anything else. The most hysterical thing you've got to try is I work with one of the best editors in the world on a weekly basis. I've edited things, polished them with AI, thinking they gleam and shine, bring them into an editing meeting with, and we start to read them. We can't even get through the second sentence. They sound like such gobbledygook. I'm not even noticing it because the AI sort of glazes me over, and I've written 17 books. But like when you actually put it to an actual editing test, it's laughably terrible, and you can't use it to correct itself. It still can't see the errors. It actually gets worse and worse and worse. And people have been claiming model after model after model, improving. Like that's not the experience on the ground. It's like people telling us AI was going to make you more productive. I don't know anybody who's become more productive because of AI. I know a ton of people who have way more work because of AI. They just can do higher quality, better work. But it has not saved time at all. It's actually added tremendous amounts of time. The quality has gone up of the work, but the claims that are coming out of people's mouths and the experience on the ground are massively different.
So yeah. And right after that, he starts talking about Bitcoin and the metaverse, trying to lump them in with AI as examples of overhyped tech. But his general position is that what you're hearing about AI is not what's actually happening in real life. It's overhyped. Naturally, Mo disagrees. And in his response, he makes it clear. AI is advancing faster than most people realize. And it's literally on track to exceed human control. Check this out.
So, Mo, how do you see this decade ahead playing out?
So I'll start by supporting what Steven said. I think today's AI...
I paid you too little then.
Dude, I love this. Your money's no good here, Peter. Finally have an advantage.
Today's AI is underhyped, right? But the problem is you never really chase where the ball is. You need to chase where the ball is going to be. Mm-hmm. Okay. And if you really start to think deeply about some of the serious, especially if you've been in tech long enough to have seen breakthroughs, especially when I went through the work of Google X, where you try and try and try and try and try, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't work. And then suddenly you see something. And as like Sergey Brin used to say at the time, the rest is engineering. Okay. And we know that engineering of tech depends on law of accelerating returns. And we know from what Ray taught us where the law of accelerating returns is going to take us. So I tend to believe that if you look at today's AI, it is funny because in a very interesting way, we are talking to machines that are talking back to us, summarizing massive volumes of knowledge, doing exactly as we tell them. And yet we take that for granted. Yet we look at that and go like, yeah, but they're not good enough. Of course, they're not good enough. They're DOS. They're the beginnings of an era, right? My
Was that DOS or dogs?
DOS, DOS,
Okay.
disk operating system.
Yeah, no, I got it. I just both would have worked there. I just needed the clarification.
I would not dare call AI dogs, Steven, when they might take over the world. I am a very polite man with AI. So the thing is to imagine, and I need to highlight a few trends that are really, really important and interesting. One of them is synthetic data. And the idea that we have entered an era where most of human knowledge has been fed to the machines, and that the next wave of knowledge is going to be fed to the machines by machines, which is quite eye-opening and enlightening, because that's how humanity developed its intelligence, right? I really didn't have to figure out theory of relativity to understand the rest of physics. It was, figured out for me, if you want, right? Number two is the idea of agents and how AI is going to be prompting AI without humans, leading to cycles that we see now with my new favorite, because you have a favorite every 4 hours, alpha evolve, right? And the idea that you can have a self-developing AI, something that figures its own mistakes out and continues to iterate until it finds something. And then, of course, one of my favorites of 2025 is DeepSeek, and how we realized, that we can actually do the same job with much less. Imad Mushtaq, who is we're all a big fan of, I believe, has done that with his work at Stability for a very long time. The idea of shrinking the models to the point where it becomes shocking, really. And so when you add those together, you start to see that if I can shrink a model so it doesn't absorb all of the world's energy, and if I can allow it to self-develop and self-develop information to learn from, and then allow it to talk with itself through agents and do things without humans, then where the ball is going to be is likely going to be a lot better than we are today. Right. So the one thing we all need to agree is it is not a question of if we're going to see improvements. It's a question of how fast and when those improvements will lead us to a point where humanity is not in the lead.
So he touches on a lot of things there: synthetic data, self-improving AI, and how the cost of intelligence is plummeting. But his main point is that you need to be looking ahead, where the ball is going to be, not where the ball currently is. And in this next clip, he goes even deeper into why AI is ultimately going to take control and why humans will willingly hand it over.
We're starting to see the speed of this accelerate. And, the biggest interesting inflection point we haven't seen yet is self-iterating, self-improving, the alpha evolve of it all, where AI is coding itself and becoming more and more capable. And will this ultimately lead to something that is far more intelligent than any human being? And then is it 1,000 times more intelligent? Is it 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000 times more intelligent? How do you think about that, Mo?
I think it's irrelevant how much more intelligent it becomes. I think we all know that if you've ever worked with someone who's 50 IQ points more than you, that they will probably hold the keys to the fort. It doesn't take a lot more intelligence relatively to be able to assume a leadership position. And humanity will hand over the fort to AI either way. Even if AI is just smarter than us at war gaming, we're going to, which it is, by the way, we're going to hand over the fort to AI. If it's smarter than us at protein folding, nobody's going to do a PhD project to fold proteins anymore. We're just going to go and, use AlphaFold. And I think the reality is only the very few remaining things require artificial superintelligence so that it beats us in everything, so that we sort of like bow and say, okay, yeah, you're the boss.
So while I definitely agree with Mo here, Kotler does respond with a reasonable counter. He agrees that AI will eventually surpass human intelligence, but he says what people are missing is that humans are also being augmented, and maybe even just as fast. Check this out.
We have no idea what the upper limit of human brains linked together in group flow is, let alone at the same time as the AI is developing. You and I are writing about it, Peter. We're watching BCI develop. We're watching non-invasive things develop. We're watching Meta be able to read brain thoughts inside your brain through facial signals. These are all with AI. But my point is that everybody's talking about this stuff as if it's happening separately from everything else that's happening. And on the human augmentation side, we are seeing neuroscience and the like has been accelerating exponentially since the 1990s when George Bush declared it the decade of the brain, and it hasn't stopped. So the same things that are happening in AI are happening sort of on the human side of the equation. And here's the second point off of that. It doesn't matter to me whether we're talking about the AI invasion or climate change or plastics in the ocean, or take your pick, because the solution to all of these things is the same. We humans have to learn how to cooperate at scale, probably cooperate with each other and with AI at scale, or we're going to die, probably in the next 20 years. That's what all this is telling us.
So Mo actually agrees with this, and even further elaborates on his point, as you're about to see. This is where the conversation starts to get really interesting and deep. Take a look.
If I were to share with you some of what I wrote today, it took me probably several weeks to let it simmer and then write it, and then it would take me an hour to explain it to you. When we run digital intelligences, we run them in parallel. We tell them all to go play at Atari or whatever, and then we just average the weights. Literally in seconds, we get a scaled digital intelligence. And when you said that what we're looking for is a way to scale human cooperation, that is absolutely the answer. Because you know what? I think, and I spoke about that with Peter when we were last in LA, that we're hitting the potential of total abundance. Total abundance meaning almost godlike, like cure my daughter and it's done. Make me an apple and it's done, right? We could hit that in 5, 10, 15, 20 years time if we don't destroy ourselves, right? And so basically the real challenge we have as humanity is, why are we freaking competing? Like this is CERN quality challenge. This is basically, let's let all of humanity cooperate. Let's all build one particle accelerator. Let's all learn from it. Let's all distribute the benefits to everyone and stop competing. But that's not happening. And that is exactly what you're saying.
So yeah, why are we competing? That's the question I think a lot of people are asking. I mean, we're talking about a technology here that has the potential to either destroy us or transcend us, for lack of a better word. And yet, we're blindly rushing towards making it as powerful as possible with virtually no plan in place. Now, this is where they start talking about human nature, and Mo goes deep into what it means to be human and what our purpose is. He ties this back to why our modern world is fundamentally sick, and why it's going to be a serious challenge to get to the utopian future we're all hoping for.
I think the challenge really truly is we've prioritized our entertainment over the years above true reflection. And if you take anything from video games to science fiction movies to whatever, they've all painted that dystopian scenario, which I have to say is very unlikely when you really think about it. Because if AI gets to the point where they are capable of destroying us that easily, we are so freaking irrelevant that they probably wouldn't even bother. I mean, think about it. I think it was Trey or Hugo the Garis. One I don't remember who said the more likely scenario is that they kill us because they're not aware of our presence, or like when you hit an ant hill while you're walking, right? But if you really want to optimize the human, sort of the gain function that we need to aim for. If I'd look forward, I'd look to Star Trek, and if I'd look backward, I'd look to the caveman and woman years, right? And it's actually quite interesting because when you mention about when you mention how governed we are by greed and fear and our egos and all of that negativity, it is actually because we want to survive. And believe it or not, survival could be, I'm not really sure if 20 million is enough. I need to gain 20 more just in case something happens. Or if it's a survival of the ego, it's like if I have 200 million or 2 billion or 20 billion or whatever, and the other has 21 billion, like what the fuck is wrong with me? Okay, and that unfortunately is what plagues our current modern world. Now the reality is, if you really think about humanity, the purpose of humanity since the caveman and woman years was to live. Okay, and for some strange reason, we've optimized so much to achieve that objective and forgot that this was the objective. Right. So, again, as friends off the camera, we speak about those things quite a bit. With, the question of what, you go through seasons in your life, and there is a season where you want to maximize, and a season where you want to build, and a season where you want to look attractive in your middle age, or whatever crazy stuff that we have. But eventually there is a season where you go like, okay, so I've now lived and experienced so much. What have I missed? Have I actually lived any of that? And believe it or not, as scary as it looks to have no job to go to in the morning, if society provided, then you'll go back to a much safer caveman woman scenario where, there are no threats, there are no famines. You just really live, enjoy life, connect, ponder, reflect, explore, which I know is very difficult for a lot of people. I do it for the first 3 hours of every day. It's pure joy, right? To sit really with your curiosity, if you want. And then if you push all the way forward into Star Trek, that's sort of what the Enterprise is doing at universal scale, right? It was basically, let's go and explore. Now that we don't really have to struggle with all of the wars and famine and shit that we've created on Earth, now we can actually open up and create connections, not just with humans, but with every living being.
So I honestly think he's spot on here. It does truly feel like we've lost our way in a sense, and have become extremely distracted by the artificial and digital world we've created. This is why Mo is anticipating a massive catastrophe within the next few years. And in this final clip, he explains exactly what that might look like and why it might actually be a good thing. Take a look.
If the US at any point in time is convinced that this mad arms race to win intelligence supremacy is one that is going to lead to some harm to everyone in the world, they will stop. And if they will stop competing, they will continue to develop, but they'll start cooperating. And if they're convinced that it will lead to an assured prosperity, that nobody's going to stab them in the back, that everyone is going to be enjoying a life that is very different for all of us, but full of prosperity for all of us, then they will stop. They will continue to develop the technology, but they will stop competing. And unfortunately, if you look back in history, we're not able to guess those possibilities like a good applied mathematician on a game board. We have to hit them, like face on. Like everyone in the world knew that a pandemic was coming. Everyone, right? Everyone who at least studied virology, okay? But it had to hit us in the face so that everyone stops, okay? Everyone knows that, trade wars are going to hurt everyone. But we have to put them out there and then fight through them and then eventually get to something. And it's sad. I mean, perhaps what we are doing, and I've dedicated probably the last 6-7 years of my life to, is to say, we really don't have to hit our face against it. It's a simple game theory, right? Understand that a prisoner's dilemma where we are competing endlessly is going to end badly. Can we please stop?
Yeah, we already know it's tit for tat, right? Like you want the other strategy. You want it doesn't matter how many AIs we put on that. It's the same thing with flow and compassion
100%.
and creativity. Like these problems have been solved. We know these answers. This isn't it's not like we have to unify gravity and, relativity. That's a hard problem. These are not.
So Mo, I wish we were that rational, and I wish we were that compelled for our optimization function being all of humanity. It's not. And so I go back to
what will hit us. We're gonna get a drastic event within the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay,
a drastic event that on one side will hit us very badly economically, or on the other side will hit our fears very much, or sadly on the worst side may kill quite a few million people, right? And you could have a range of a hacker that simply instead of attacking a physical place, switching off the internet or the power grid somewhere where the power grid is needed for life. Or you could, on the other extreme, get a hack into a bank, or an evil war that goes out of control, or machines that turn onto their makers. Or there will be some very big news headline, as always, there will be, it will last for 12 to 13 days before we start to talk about some kind of a pop star. But then, behind closed doors, I think decision makers will wake up.
So once again, I think he is spot on here. Typically, it takes some big disaster or catastrophe for people to start waking up. But when we're talking about something as powerful as AI, if we wait for that bad thing to happen before implementing a plan, it might simply be too late. I'm not trying to be a doomer or anything, and I don't think Mo considers himself as a doomer either. But I do honestly think we're going to see a massive catastrophe very soon, as he predicts. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you siding more with Steven Kotler here, who thinks we are way overhyping this? Or Mo Gawdat, who basically says we're sleepwalking into disaster? Either way, the conversation around AI is shifting, and fast. And if we don't start paying attention now, we might not get a second chance. So drop your thoughts below, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy these type of breakdowns, and as always, I'll be catching you guys in the next one.